So I've been writing my review for When Life Gives You Tangerines actually, which is way better. I mean, I to myself, is it way better than anything I'm gonna say here? I mean, no. I feel like written reviews and also like video reviews. I mean, they're both great. But do you know what I mean? I mean, I feel like obviously with an audio review, you can say so much more than obviously you can say written. Even though I am obviously in my written review, I'm breaking down the show probably like way more than you would probably doing something like this. I mean, because I swear, like obviously, well, in an episode, you would probably like how I'm doing now. You would say what's it called, yeah, like what the show's about, like what I usually do in all my episodes, right? But then obviously in my written review, I was basically breaking down my favorite parts about it anyways, and then just summarizing all together. I think I had written a review about When I've Key Tangerines before, right? But that was when it had just started, so now I had to do it, and then I had to do a full one because now that it's finished, which is so sad. But I think with when it was finishing, I thought to myself it was normal that we were going to miss it. I think like a show like that, it wants you to miss it, and because like what it's about and its significance, I feel like that's obviously another major factor, because its significance is what makes you yearn for it and to not and like not want to say goodbye. And I think like that's also, it feels like it could be metaphorical, because you never really want to say goodbye, like, you know, to life, like, you know what I mean, to like to wanting to be eternal, to be immortal. And I feel like that's like obviously what One Life Tangerines like signifies. I also, for me, I wasn't planning on doing an episode actually, but then I've decided to do one, mainly my main reason, right, is because I've been seeing so much stuff about people saying they want a Gwan-sik, but they want the Gwan-sik like that's rich. And I was like, well, people are obviously missing the point of the drama, because the point of the drama is that obviously, yeah, you get through things together. And it's like the show's obviously like, oh, to all you, yeah, to all you've been through. Like, I mean, that's what it's translated in Jeju. So it's to all you've been through. And like it's mainly trying to say that like even if you don't have the means and you are not rich, you will still get you'll still manage to get through things in life. And that like, because people obviously, I feel like with this drama, like it's really talking about class and talking about, oh, if you have money, like you're better off, you're able to get things that you want to get, like you're successful in life, and that means that you are a great person by means, like literally by product, by definition. And we're like, obviously when Life Tangerines, really the main importance of it is that even if you're coming from like, yeah, you're coming from the very bottom, like you're actually struggling, you're doing all of these things, and you're like Gwan-sik, like as a character, you're obviously still providing for your family and you're overworking yourself, but you're doing it because you know that it's worth it, and you know that your family needs it, and you're just that kind of figure. Like, also, I think another thing about him was that because he didn't have money, it was like he was such a father figure. And then you could see the guy who Asom was supposed to marry, like he wasn't a father figure. Like he was entitled, like, but like, you know what I mean, but because he was probably best, like he was better off than Gwan-sik, but that means he was not a better person. And that's the thing, like this is what we're saying, like money doesn't automatically make you a good person. And I feel like obviously it's like what the show tries to showcase is that, like, do you know what I mean, more, it's not even like, oh yeah, if you're poor you're a good person, but it's like you know what it's like to work hard, and you know what it's like to help others and to do all of these things, because you're obviously not in that place. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, people thinking, oh yeah, they want a Gwan-sik, but they want a rich version of him. I'm like, no, the whole point of the show is struggling through those hard times, even if you have no money. But like, please don't tell me you missed the please don't tell me you missed the point of the drama. Please don't tell me that you sat through 16 episodes and you didn't get it. You know? And that's what I'm saying. I've mentioned to you guys about this before, like K-dramas and how they're so long, and like I was myself, if you can't wrap your head around a K-drama after sitting through them for 16 episodes and like they're like an hour each, if you haven't got it, then I don't know what's happening. Like I always struggle with like watching, like, I don't know, in general, like films and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, like, and I sometimes find it hard also to to grab what a show or a film is about sometimes if it's like not long enough. But I'm just saying, with When Life Gives You Tangerines, it's long enough. So it's just like, what's your reasoning for not getting it? But you know what I do think it might be? It's just the fact that I feel like there is this whole thing that we do. I mean this whole, so like, it's the society thing, right? It's more of a thing where we're like, oh, we don't want to be with a broke man. Like, we don't want somebody who is broke and has no job or whatever. Like, we don't want that. But then the thing is, like, and I hear that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I hear you, I get it. But then I'm also like with Gwan-sik, like he wasn't poor. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's what they're trying to showcase to us about this show. Like, you'll be handed cards to you, like dealt cards in life, that obviously now your circumstances are the way that they are, but you can't do anything about that. So you might as well try to be hardworking, and you should, like, yeah, you should strive to be that. So you know what I mean? There's more. I think there's somebody who's broke, right? And then there's somebody who doesn't want to be broke and strives for more. Do you get it? We're like, yeah, those guys, we don't want them. Do you know what I mean? People who are actually like bums. But I feel like being broke, like, there's a different mentality. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you want somebody who obviously might not have money, but they are willing to, what's it called? Yeah, they're willing to do blood, sweat, and tears, and they're willing for, like, Gwan-sik, who has calluses on his fingers, and to, like, put food on the table, even though, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it can be difficult. And even in, like, Gwan-sik was obviously having injuries, and he was doing all these sorts of stuff. Like, he was getting those, like, daily, but he was still doing it. So do you know what I mean? It's like being broke, and then you're saying being broke, but also having a hardworking mentality. And that's the difference. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's like, yeah, that's why I was like, the rich version thing that people are adding into it rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, no, I do want somebody like Gwan-sik, and it's like, but it doesn't matter if they're rich or they're poor. Like, do you know what I mean? You just want somebody like him who has that mentality, that, like, no matter what, like, they're gonna be there for you, and they're gonna do anything that they can. Like, it's crazy. Like, he obviously also wanted to make sure that Asun was gonna be able to get something what she wanted out of life, and you know what I mean. And I feel like he delivered on that promise. And I think also another thing about Gwan-sik, actually, before I was to move on, I just mean, like, I think what also people were talking about was the fact that, like, his kids were ungrateful, which we saw they were. But I feel like we understand why they were from a child's perspective. Like, it's not really ungrateful. Like, it's not really ungratefulness, but it's just like, you know what I mean? I think it's more so a thing where it blends into, like, it blends into guilt. So it comes out spiteful. Do you know what I mean? It's what I saw in both. Yeah, in both going, in both, like, Gwan-sik's daughter and then his son. Like, both of them had factors like that, where they're just like, why do you put yourself through these things? But it's more of a thing where it's not supposed to be. It comes out. It comes out as spite, but it's not really intended to be that way. It's actually just supposed to be a thing like, why don't you take better care of yourself? Do you know what I mean? But we all know why he does that, which is obviously what I was just talking about. Do you know what I mean? We know that like he does that because he wants to be. He's just that kind of guy. Like it's a what did I say? Father figure, role model. What's it called? Also, I don't know what else it's called, but like or homeowner kind of, but somebody who brings the gold, brings the chickens, right? And it's just like that's what he. And I also think that's they might have seen it as a bad thing of him taking care of himself. That's also what they were trying to show to them, to his kids. And then they were also trying to show to them to not settle for anything, and to also like but just reach for the stars and like keep going, and like don't give up. When the going gets tough, just oh sorry, that's my ball. Just like when the going gets tough, just keep going. But do you know what I mean? And I think most of us, like watching it, we saw ourselves in his kids, because we were just like, oh, we know some of us have fathers who are like Gwan-sik, and we're just like, oh, we can see how they would be upset. But I feel like it's said out of love. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it sounds like it's bad, but like it's not really intended to be that way. It's not intended to be taken that way. It's supposed to be taken in a really great way. So I'm moving from Gwan-sik now, but I'm probably gonna we'll probably circle back. We'll touch in and out of him. But anyways, I also feel like I should remember my introduction, which is now talking about what the show is about if you have not seen it. Even though I feel like When Life Gives You Tangerines got the same kind of what's it called? It got the same kind of traction, same kind of lens that like adolescence has been getting. I know that with adolescence, people don't want a season 2 of Adolescence. I don't know if people want a season 2 of When Life Gives You Tangerines. Not that that's gonna happen, because it's not. Like, obviously we know that doesn't happen in K-dramas. Like, they hardly ever do season 2, and the only time they really do is for very rare situations. Like, I think, what's an example I can think of? Like Weak Hero. Obviously, I feel like, I don't know, I might to myself, did they time it for in this reason? Like with the fact that Weak Hero came out on Netflix like very recently, and then obviously then they came out with the announcement of the new season, and it felt like it was such a quick return, because I don't think people who had watched Weak Hero when it came out, like obviously I think it was like 2 years ago, or wait, 2022 or 2021, right? But so when that came up, people were saying that they didn't hear any updates, but then it's like you only hear about updates now, and then you only hear about updates now like when it's gained traction, and when like there's people who are watching Weak Hero for the first time, like me, watching it for the first time, which is where now they're like, okay, and it's getting loads of viewings and all that kind of stuff. But then again, also I don't feel like that would be the case when I see Tangerines, because I don't think that they I think like obviously with When Life Gives You Tangerines, it's supposed to be a 1 season thing, and I feel like it's about life, and that's the importance of it, which is why it wouldn't really be one that would probably like come back. But anyways, so that's what I was going to explain the show, which I feel like I kind of have just that moment ago. But When Life Gives You Tangerines is about, obviously I said what the translation is. Here's to all you've been through in Jeju dialect. And it mainly is about when, like, because obviously when I first saw the title, I was like, I interpreted it as, of course, and I actually, funny thing is, I predicted that it was going to be melancholic, and I already knew that, but I feel like I knew that because, of course, the title, like, I feel like the title gives it away anyway, because when you think When Life Gives You Tangerines, and you think, like, tangerine slash lemons, you just think, like, okay, this is going to be a hard topic, and this is going to be something where like it's like, because the phrase is when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? So I was like to myself, of course, this is going to be a show that is about striving through the hard times, and no matter what life throws at you, you will be resilient and you will continue to go on, which is literally all that unfolds in the show. It follows obviously Aseon, who is our main character, and she, she's what is it? She's not living with her mother, right? Because that's what you get from episode 1. She's not living with her mum, and she's like living with her. She's living with her father's. Yeah, she's living with her father's family. And then she obviously just has loads of unluckiness because obviously she lives out, yeah, she's living from poverty, and she doesn't really get all the things that she wants. She doesn't get to be in places that she wants, like the fact that in episode 1 she wants to be top of her class, and obviously it gets given to somebody who's in a better social standing in her, and that's mainly all it revolves around, that the person got it because they are in a better place than she is, rather than like the fact that she could probably have done better. And I do feel like obviously the like social class, like I mentioned, I feel like is a theme that runs through the entire drama. Like it's mainly just to be a thing that, like, do you know what I mean, like people will look down on you for like being in different status, and like I don't know. And also I feel like also with Asian, she was probably also not like she was probably not seen as lucky because she kind of, in a way, you would think that because she only has her mom and she lost her dad, that it's like she's coming from a broken home also, so they're like she's poor, she doesn't have a father, she just has a mom, so it's kind of like, oh, she's not gonna be like, they don't think she's gonna amount to anything. That we obviously are introduced to information, and what we learn about her is that she's very into the literary arts, so she's into literature and she likes to write poems. So, and that's what like her village knows her as. Also, okay, you also have the whole thing with her mother, and that her mother is a henyo, which is about, like, it's about female divers. And obviously she has also, like, okay, I think what's crazy is that, like, obviously in When Life Gives You Tangerines, it's like the ocean is seen as her enemy, and it's just like the ocean like, I don't even know. The ocean just is like her main, yeah, it's obviously, like I said, it's her main enemy. And it's just a thing where her mother was also always diving, getting fishes for her. And then obviously her mother was very strict on the fact that she would never become a diver herself. And then of course Aseom made that into her life, and made sure that she made sure that, like, that was something that she didn't want to happen to, or she didn't want it to happen to Gwan-sik, and she didn't want it to happen to any of her children either. I think that's what I really like about this drama, the fact that, like, yeah, they try to keep these roots, or these, just the message of, like, not settling, and always saying, and always, not settling, always saying you deserve more, and also knowing when a place is not for you. It was very interesting that I think people have known IU's work a lot, but myself, I've not really seen IU in anything, and I think this might have been my first time actually seeing her in anything, which is surprising. You guys might take that as a shock, but I never watched IU in anything. But I know that, like, after having, like, obviously looked into her works and everything, that this is something that she's that she's prone to do. Like, it's like, what, it's giving typecasting, but also not really. But, like, obviously she goes for roles or dramas that are very solemn. I also think obviously what everyone's saying about her is that it's very, very good that she was able to like, she was obviously doing so much. I mean, in this drama, she was obviously being the narrator. She was obviously A Sung, and she was also her daughter. So it's like, I feel like she played them, like, you could say obviously that means she did the major carrying, which is, it's just what, like, you feel bad to say that, because it's like, not to say all the other people in the drama didn't perform to their, like, to their best, to their ability, because they did, but she obviously was the person who did about, yeah, so she did about, like, that's almost like three different things in one drama. And obviously Park Bogum, like, he was Gwan-sik, but he wasn't really like, he wasn't always obviously present, because obviously it's a lot of thing where it switches back and forth a lot. So it's this thing where obviously he wouldn't have probably done that many scenes. Like, Park Bogum played yeah, he played Gwan-sik so well. And I think, like, the fact that, like, I think people say about Park Bogum is that he has very striking eyes. Like, well, like, he has very striking features, of course, but he has very striking eyes. Yeah, so he has very striking eyes, and like he's able, yeah, to play this role well. You know what's interesting about Park Bogumore? I felt like I meant to do with the whole family dynamic that they have. I like, obviously, I think another theme that was present in the drama was obviously favoritism, but I don't know. I wanted to say that, right, we know that his favorite was obviously Geum Myeong, but like, I do also feel like, I don't really feel like he really did have a favorite. I kind of do feel like you could tell with Asian that she was more had a stance on favorites, because I meant, like, her favorite was obviously also their eldest daughter. But then I'm just saying, like, with Park Bogum, I don't really feel, I mean, with Gwan-sik, I don't feel like he really was that, like, had that much, because he was obviously, I feel like he showed love, yeah, to like all three of his children, but I just mean, like, I meant he showed love to them all, yeah, equally in different ways. Obviously he might have had a, yeah, like, well, like, he might have had a favorite, like, I don't know, which is like, was obviously the favoritism thing, but I'm just saying, like, I don't really feel like it was as bad as what, I don't know, what it usually is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, their son felt like he was neglected a lot, which, like, yeah, which is shown. But I feel like obviously Gwan-sik didn't neglect him. Do you know what I mean? So, like, when he was having his tantrum, but then Gwan-sik took him out. So I'm like to myself, this thing where, like, it wasn't even really that bad. Like, and then I don't know. It's also very tricky to say, because obviously they had so much going on. Like, I just mean as a family, and the fact that they were obviously living, excuse me, in poverty, and I think that makes it difficult. And like, it obviously, like, it's like, yeah, it makes everything swept up, and like makes things harder to be able to be vocalized or said, which is what I was even talking about. Remember, I was talking about the ungratefulness, but I'm saying even more so, it's like, it's harder to say it then, rather than rather than in a rich house, because, but then that was another thing. That's what I'm trying to say. I said about the guy who Aesong was supposed to marry. I feel like they tried to show that to us anyways. They tried to show us to that, like, it was like a scale. They tried to show us that whether a poor rich family, like, one is more miserable than the other. Like, we see that they are happier, like, because, do you know what I mean? Because they have this, like, this family spirit, and they have this way of, like, yeah, always putting each other first. Whereas in the other family, who obviously like money is not a trouble for them, they have all these other stuff going on, like affairs and like not being shown love by the person that you want it most from, which is your father. I mean, so yeah, when I think about it like that, I'm like, wow, like obviously that is what they tried to show to us, and I think they broke that down very very well, to do it on a scale like that. But really thinking about, like, now that I was doing this episode and reflecting, I'm thinking about the fact there's literally so much to say about this drama. And you know what also I think about? I feel about the fact that, like, I know that, like, K-dramas are very good. That's a fact. But, like, this drama obviously feels so rare. It just feels like, you know, when, like, you do yourself a drama like this only comes around, it only comes around a few years. And it's like, I don't know when the next one, will be, to like yeah to just cover so many different themes. That's what I'm saying. So the fact about so poverty, uh South Korean history, what else, the oldest child syndrome. But I wouldn't, yeah, syndrome is not nice, but I meant like, I only say syndrome because I'm saying like it's what we see obviously their daughter like grapple with, because obviously it's like you're the eldest child, so everything falls on you, even though it's not like you asked for it to be that way. It's just a nature thing. Like she's just like, what can you do? So, and the reviews for it so far obviously are 100%. Like everything about it. I think also obviously I really was enjoying seeing how, like, or seeing people watching it on TikTok. Like that was really nice, because I think, you know, when a show can make it feel like there's community, you ask yourself, wow, like obviously sometimes we think to ourselves, right, we're all sharing this planet, but we all felt what we felt in this show, like all the tears, all the way it was able to stir up emotions, the way that people were calling back home, and they were getting on flights, and like they were obviously also sitting down and watching it with their parents who have immigrated. And I'm like, that is the beauty of a good show. And it's just very interesting and enlightening to see, because it makes you just believe that, yeah, not all is lost, right? There's still shows like this that will come out, will obviously like give you a new outlook on things. Like I think walking away from the show, I was just like, oh, like I was to myself, yeah, like parents do so much. For one thing, that's what I was saying. And then I also obviously, like how I mentioned about, like, it's your ungratefulness, but it's also your guilt, and you're like, is there more that I could be doing? But then you also are just like, wow, I really love my parents, because although I don't really say it, but you're like, oh, I should say it more. Do you know what I mean? Because the drama makes you reflect. The drama makes you reflect on, you know, all these different, yeah, and all these different factors. Also, like, I feel like also to do with like time as well. Like that's probably another one, again, another theme. Just as to say, like, there's no amount of time, like no time will ever be enough, sorry, to spend with somebody. I mean, because it's obviously like, obviously his daughter says the line where she's like, his unrequited love, it, yeah, my father's unrequited love was ending, whereas mine was just beginning. And I was like, wow. And it's the line that has stuck out to me, like, since finishing. The one that obviously, like, you guys are like, oh, like, you can remember, but like, yes, I can recount it, because I feel like it was that, like, yeah, it was that groundbreaking. I didn't ever really think of it that way. Do you know what I mean? But it was interesting that, like, yeah, it was interesting that like she viewed it that way. Like she obviously was just thinking to herself, oh, all these times that she might have like, yeah, like not have said how much she cared about him or felt like she was ungrateful towards him, but he was always there for her. And I guess she reflected on that. Like after she reflected on that and just of his importance and how he'd always been that figure in her life and how he'd always just been there for her. And I was just like, wow, like fathers are great, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's interesting because I feel like also then if we're talking about the dynamics in his relationship with his daughter and his relationship with his son, but like obviously his relationship with his daughter was better. But it's interesting that they never touched on those kinds of, I don't know, like, you know, that kind of theme where it's like, yeah, the father is hard on their son because they feel like the son should be the one who puts food on the table. Like, I don't know. It didn't really seem like Gwan-sik was really that hard on his son that like you expect fathers to be. I'm saying he could have been worse because that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like fathers always have a very stern hand on their sons, but it didn't really feel like he really had that. Like it was very much, yeah, it's very much obviously gentle parenting, and we all know what gentle parenting is, but it's just like he's more like, oh, like he would say comments to his son like, I don't know, sort out your hair and like all this kinds of stuff, but it would never really be like, yeah, it would never be really like a strict kind of hand. Do you know what I mean? Or to use any kind of like, I don't know, like you think violence. Do you know what I mean? Not even just verbal, but just you think violence, and you think the fact that like fathers will abuse their sons into like into putting that mentality into them, basically. I also like that, so it was also, I just feel like, like, not that kind of theme was not shown in this, which was great. I just mean like toxic masculinity, do you know what I mean? It was not even a thing in this drama, like, and then that's one of the factors that are obviously in Life, but it felt like he didn't present those to his son. Like, what's his name, he never really had that, do you know what I mean? And even him, like, he was also, like, there's so many parallels in this drama also. Like, he was doing the things that his father was doing, and that, I mean, I guess he learned that it was nature, not nurture, but also, nature and nurture a little bit, but just, he would see that in his father of him working so hard, so he obviously was set out to do the same exact thing. And that, I just mean, so he followed his father's footsteps, right? But then, I mean, he also, like, like, they all were able to express their feelings, and they were all able, like, to cry and everything like that, like, do you know what I mean? Except, I feel like with Gwan-sik, you didn't see him cry a lot, but of course, you only saw him cry when it was really, really necessary. But his son probably, and I guess he also he cried a lot with a son, but that was normal though, because that's what I mean. Like, even if we move on to the topic of like the fact that like green flags in K-dramas sometimes feel like they're very unrealistic, and that it's like nobody, like it makes you feel like, oh, it's not unattainable. But then, you know, I don't think that it is. I think like they show us these green flags and these expectations because, like, you guys might be like, oh, but it's about delusion. But I'm like, no, they show us these things because that's what it's supposed to be like. Right? It's like just supposed to be like that. I feel like also the way that like Gwan-sik and like Aeson's love story was that they were they grew up together, right? And I just mean that, like, obviously that made them stay together for every single season, like childhood to adulthood, and all the way through, and every single season. And that was their main thing. Yeah, also let me read the synopsis because it says Aesung, IU, and Gwan-sik were born in Jeju, South Korea in the 1950s. Aesung is a rebellious girl and a lover of books, but she is unable to attend school due to her poor family background. Under this circumstance, she never gives up on her dream of becoming a poet. She expresses her she expresses it's because the title was throwing me off. She expresses her feelings freely without hiding anything, and Gwan-sik is a sincere and diligent young man. He doesn't talk much. Gwan-sik loves only Aesung and respects her. Do you know what I mean? I think that's also probably another thing where it's like, I guess that's why they're like, oh, like a man like that, like he is, yeah, he's a treasure, he's a medal. Like, you think to yourself, oh, a man who only has eyes for one woman. You're just like, that seems like that's quite an impossible thing. But then I'm just like, no. Like, obviously what was really lovely was that, yeah, Geum was like, she obviously knew that she wanted to find somebody like her father, and she did not want to settle. She saw the way that her father loved her mother, and she knew that's what she needed in life, and there was no other way. She was not gonna have that. And I think that, yeah, that's what everyone aspires for. And yeah, like I said, about like, obviously I was talking about the community thing, and I just mean that everyone can say something about this drama with what it's taught them. Everyone's come out with something, feeling like they've learned something. They're more grateful. Like, you need that. Like, you literally need that. People were like, oh, I think people, when they saw the title, they were like, when life gives you depression, when life gives you stress. And we were like, yeah, I agree. It was very much like, do you know what I mean? But I just mean, yeah, I think it's a good drama that, yes, you'll be, because I saw somebody say this on the website I was looking at, but like, it's good that you'll be able to, yeah, recount on a drama like this one day, and that it has so many like important life lessons that can obviously help you in the future. I just read a review that said, because I feel this is a very interesting outlook to have, but obviously this person was saying about how they feel like that the acting was excellent, and the cinematography and sets were terrific, and the story itself is beautiful, but the plot was just not coherent, which is, I mean, it's interesting. And that they think that the drama needed 20 episodes and tried to squeeze everything into 16 with total success. And do you know what I mean? I think, who did I say this to? I mean, no, right. I was talking to my mum, I think, before, when I was talking to her, but that was about another drama. I was talking about Potato Lab, because Potato Lab finished with 12, and I was talking to her about how I thought that they rushed that. But then I do hear what that person just said about the fact that you think with a drama like When Life Gives You Tangerines, that they would probably stretch it out to like 20 or 30 or more, because it's not unheard of. That's what I mean, to do that for K-dramas, because I think, like, even Iron Family that I'm watching, Iron Family obviously has 36, and that feels like, you know, a pretty good number. And I think obviously I think that, like, what's it called? Yeah, the Iron Family and When Life Gives You Tangerines, like, I was seeing obviously a lot of similar themes between them. And the fact, just like, to do with that, the fact they're obviously both surrounded by like family, and like, do you know what I mean, doing things for your family, and the importance of that, and also what's it called? Yeah, coming from a place of love when it comes to do with your family, doing whatever you can to do right by them, and that, like, yes, they both are. Iron Family and When Life Gives You Tangerines are both slice of life dramas as well, so that's obviously also important. But that's why when Life Gives You Tangerines finished, I was like, of course they managed to like get everything that they wanted out of it. But of course, I was like to myself, yeah, they could have probably stretched it out the same way that Iron Family did. But yeah, so with like 36 or 20 or something like that, because I guess maybe there could have been more things that they could have touched on. But then I also just do think sometimes it's like, I don't know. I think, when you think when something ends, it's like the way that it ends is the best possible way. And then I think to myself, could you think any more? Like, could you think of anything else? Yeah, and is there anything else that you could really add? Like, I think we all try to do this anyways. When you're watching something and you think, this is what I would have added in, this is what I would have said. But I feel like with When Life Gives You Tangerines, there's not really much that you could really think as somebody who's like watching it, that there was anything else they really could have added in. Like, that's what I mean. I'm to myself, was it really missing anything? Which I don't think so. They're obviously saying they feel like it's like being compared to Reply 1988, which I did currently start watching because I do feel like Reply 1988 is very good. But when I first started it, I just obviously couldn't get into it. And what was so funny actually also about Gwan-sik again? That's why I told you guys I knew I would circle back and end up to him again. They called him Still Hot, right? But they were basically calling him Still Hot because they just felt like nothing could really, they feel like anything could really penetrate him or break down his walls. But I think he was very, like, they were saying that he had a heart still, but he was very emotional. So I was like, what are you guys talking about? I was like, he actually does have a lot of emotion, and I feel like he was crying a lot. I'm like, they all were. They all were crying an awful lot. But I meant him also in particular. So, right. Yeah, young Geum Myeong. And then, what did they say? Oh, A-Sung's described as a spirited rebel, much like a stubborn potato. Yeah. As a cast iron and unshakable as an old tree. But they're just saying, like, so then they just meant still, yeah, because he didn't have, like, much to say. His funniest line was probably when he said, oh, yeah, he wants to be the first lady. And that was funny because it was like, yeah, he was just like, oh, anything that his son does that he's going to be there for. And I was just like, yeah, obviously that is adorable. Do you know what I mean? That he felt like that it didn't really matter as long as he was with her. And yeah, like, also they were very much giving Romeo and Juliet, of course, because obviously their families didn't want them together. Like, their families didn't want them together, which is why when I was talking about the guy who she was meant to get married to, which is Bruce and Gale, but yeah, so that guy is that obviously they just felt like I don't know. I think his mum felt like obviously he didn't deserve his son. And then they also didn't probably like. I didn't like her mum, I don't think. And then yeah, so. But when the person said about that review, because now I'm reflecting on that, I'm thinking to myself, yes, I agree, but then I also don't. It's always good to have two different sides anyway. When you see a review and you think to yourself, yes, I can get behind it, but then there's also so many different like layers. I think they don't like the person said, because this is something that Wikipedia is talking about, right? They're saying that it's presented in a non-linear narrative, and I sometimes that is very difficult to like handle. Like, when you feel like a story does jump and dart all over the place. But, like this show did have it had a very good structure. I mean, I just mean that it was different paths and they had the dates there as well. I meant, do you know what I mean? So it wasn't even like, oh, you didn't know where they were. Like, they were putting the dates in repeatedly. Because sometimes they do that. Like, when people do that kind of narrative, sometimes they do have it darted all over the place, and then you don't actually really know where you are. But they obviously was doing it with in a very vintage way. It looked like the kind of camera date that you see in the middle of your camera, but so in the I mean in the bottom, but it was, yes, it was between the 1950s and the 2000s, but they would always put the year. So that's why I was like, yeah, you could say it's a bit scattered, but I also feel like it was nice that, yeah, the dates were there, so you weren't completely lost, right? So, and then I do always like that kind of thing where it's like, yes, you have somebody narrating on the past. When I first started it though, but actually I really thought it was, what did I think it was? I don't know. I didn't know actually it was gonna be in that way. I kind of thought it was gonna be like I don't know. Like I thought it was gonna be like more of a, I don't know. Of course they start out like the first episode is her as an old lady. And then I don't know. I thought it was a fast forward. I got confused. I was just like, I just was like, oh, that but I do think following the structure of like looking back on the past is always the best way to tell any kind of story. Like, you know what I mean? You don't really want a story where it's like, I don't know. Yeah, where it's like, where it's like, obviously, yeah, you want the future person recounting their past, not any other kind of different way. But I don't think there's any other way that it can be done. So yeah. Oh, and then you know what's another thing? Because then obviously, right, it was talking about, yeah, the fact that her mum never wanted her to work as a diver, which is something I already mentioned. But and she wanted her daughter to make the most of her life. But that was another thing, right? It had a lot of like themes on, yeah, on like women's rights, or even, I mean, well, lots of feminism, I mean. So in that, like, oh, of how hard it can be to be a woman, and also obviously a woman in that time era, like the fact that like you'll find yourself to be in marriages that you're not necessarily happy with, but yeah, sorry, moving on, because obviously I'm going to talk about this article that I'm reading. So that it says, in many Asian cultures, family harmony is often held up as the thing to be preserved at all costs. The concept of family first is often ingrained from an early age at dinner tables, holiday gatherings, and in moments of conflict. So whenever we invoke family first, are we fostering relationships built on mutual respect, or are we simply demanding compliance in the name of tradition? And does loyalty mean accepting mistreatment? So yeah, so that's exactly what they tried to show us. I think, like, and then what I was talking about the woman thing was that obviously they were more upset with Aeson than they were with Gwan-sik. Like, he was in love with Aeson and he wanted to be with her a lot, but they didn't really seem to showcase all of they didn't showcase to put the blame on him at all, and they more put the blame on her because she's the woman, and then so it was like she got the more brunt of it, even though he was obviously also at fault. Because he obviously, well, yeah, he wanted to marry her. So, and that the message can be very clear, which is obviously what the article is saying, that she would never truly belong. So, and obviously it was like the fact that I think, and then also that's obviously what Esion was trying to teach her oldest daughter as well. Like, she didn't want her daughter to take on those traits, as that a woman should be like a housewife. She should be looking after her family. She should be looking after her in-laws. She should be doing all of these things. She should be practically becoming a maid. She shouldn't be doing those things. She should be aspiring for more and always thinking that there's more to be had, and there's more that life can give you than what life tells you should do. I like that, yeah, Aeson really did obviously go up the ladder. So okay, sorry. I was obviously reading the article. I love this article though, actually, because obviously they said something about how collective stability was always first and individual needs came second, and that the theme plays out in Life Gives You Tangerines as well, where Asun and Gwan-sik relinquish everything from their boat to their house, provide their children with education and stable future. And that's obviously what I was talking about, which I meant in the difference of homes, and how the other dad, Boo Sang-gil, he didn't ever think about, oh yeah, giving up any of the things that he had. There was things that he had in his house that he definitely could have done. But then I feel like obviously he changed, like after being inspired by Gwan-sik, I feel like. Do you know what I mean? He saw the way Gwan-sik was a role model in his family. So he decided to see life a different way, and to see that, yeah, like what the person is saying in the article is about stability, but you should be able to know that you should be putting your children and your household first, no matter what. Like, do you know what I mean? You should, no matter what anybody needs, like, you should do whatever you can to make sure that they can get that. So yeah, I don't even know. Obviously, as I said, I'm even gonna wrap up now. I feel like there's so much more that can be said about When Life Gives You Tangerines, but I just think that, like, When Life Gives You Tangerines is giving, yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, it's doing really well. I think. Oh yeah, I wanted my last note to be was about what was it? I want my last note to be about how obviously we hope that When Life Gives You Tangerines will get the awards that it deserves, because I just mean, like how I said about IU will obviously worked really hard on this, and that, well, then all of them did, but that but that it deserves that acclaim, everything like that. I think, oh yeah, also actually no, last points was like also the Gwan-sik sickness, which has taken the world by storm. Obviously, but I touched on that earlier also, because obviously I was saying about the rich version and the poor version, when it's like, obviously we want somebody like that, whether rich or poor, like I said. And that it isn't just a love story, nor is it merely a historical drama. It's obviously so much more than that. It's just, like I said, it has layers. So, and that is masterfully bridged past and present, blurring the line between nostalgic reverie and pressing reality. And I liked the way that, like, every single season brought something new, something else that they had to grapple with. It was crazy because, yeah, you felt like their life couldn't get any worse. But I think that obviously is what the message is supposed to be. The message is supposed to be, just no matter what life throws at you, like, the perseverance is what is important. And whether rain or shine, like, literally, I think the season component was very, very interesting, as to just all these different seasons to go through. I think obviously their best season was obviously spring. Yeah, their best season was obviously spring. I feel like all the other ones were a bit more challenging, like probably winter, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, winter and all those other seasons were a bit more difficult. But what did you think about? But yeah, question to the audience: what did you think about When Life Gives You Tangerines? And is there a drama that you're watching that's similar to When Life Gives You Tangerines now? And what is something that stood out to you? Because obviously I mentioned mine, actually. Yes, I mentioned mine, which was mainly about the whole, like, yeah, obviously realizing the importance of just, like, fathers and the way that they are able to showcase their love. That was my main thing. But I'm wanting to know what was the thing that stood out to you the most, and what is it that that you are remembering, and that what you're holding dear. But I'm sure that all of us actually will definitely recount one of his tangerines in years to come. Like, I know that probably, I feel like I'm definitely going to do a rewatch again, but like not anytime soon, but eventually I will, because it's a drama for the times. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.